It is 4 o'clock on Monday, December 15th, and this is the Cape Cod Regional Government Assembly of Delegates Standing Committee on Finance. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, this virtual meeting of the Barnstable County Assembly of Delegates Standing Committee on Finance will be conducted via remote means only in accordance with applicable law. Members of the public may watch the meeting through live real-time broadcast at www.youtube.com/user/Barnstable County. A public participation guide and meeting documents are available in advance at www.capecod.gov. The County of Barnstable does not discriminate in the administration of its programs or activities on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, disability, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or other category protected by state and federal anti-discrimination laws and regulations. Reasonable accommodations for people with disabilities are available upon request. For more information or to file a complaint, please contact Justina Marchak, Barnstable County ADA Non-Discrimination Coordinator at jmar.czak@capecod.gov. Call 508-375-6646 or visit www.capecod.gov. Members of the public may also attend the meeting remotely through Microsoft Teams, and all of that information is available on the website as well.
Thank you, sir. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order. And the first one will be a moment of silence to honor our troops who have died in service to our country and all those serving our country in the armed forces. Thank you. Those who can stand, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call, Mr. Clerk, please.
All right, Mr. Chair. Delegate Frizel.
Here.
Delegate King for Delegate Gallagher.
Here.
Delegate Vice Chair Killian.
Here.
Chair Omen.
Here.
And Delegate Fuller for Delegate O'Malley.
Here.
That is 5, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Everyone's gotten the agenda and I'm sure you've downloaded the red line version of the session for proposed ordinance 20-14. I read through it as carefully as I could. I'm not as well versed in law as some of the other members of this committee, but I thought it was very thorough, and I thank you for doing that, Owen. It represented everything that we asked you to do in our previous meeting. Does anybody have any questions about that or additions or subtractions there too? No, I thought it was very thorough. It was interesting how well you redesigned the red line in accordance to what we asked you to do, especially the last from numbers 12 through 18. I thought that was excellent, and I'm willing to present that as written, as edited red lines to the commissioners for their approval or disapproval, whatever they choose.
Mr. Chairman, I would move.
Yeah,
move
please,
approval.
Mr. Frizel.
Yeah, I would move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. And is there further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, could I have a roll call?
Just to be clear, so I want to know what Delegate Frizel means by approval. The Finance Committee is recommending that the full Assembly adopt this ordinance
Yes.
with these amendments, right?
Right, approved
Okay.
by the committee, not the assembly. Yeah.
Yeah, approved by the
Yes.
committee to send to the full assembly for adoption and sent back to the commissioners. Yeah,
Got it.
that's the intent.
Okay, so you'd like a roll call on that,
Please.
Mr. Chair? Okay. Delegate Frizel.
Yes.
Delegate King for Delegate Gallagher.
Yes.
Vice Chair Killian.
Yes.
Chair Omen.
Yes.
And Delegate Fuller for Delegate O'Malley.
Yes.
That's 5.
Okay, thank you. The next and probably more discussion will be with number 7, authorizing a letter from the Finance Committee on questions regarding Children's Cove. It was very thorough and very thoughtful, and there is one addition that the clerk and I thought about is we would like to know if we could ask the the Children's Cove staff and director if how many cases they expect to have this year from both Dukes County and Nantucket County. So that will serve to find out exactly the impact of having that RCAC service to additional counties going forward. Delegate Frizel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just want to clarify that there were two letters that were attached to our agenda, so that the one that I am focusing on, and I would think might be the one we would consider sending, is the letter which contains additional paragraphs, which are paragraphs 8, 9, and 10.
That's correct. That
Okay,
is,
just so that we're all
thank
on
you
the
for
same.
that. I didn't
Yeah.
want any confusion. That was just an
Yeah.
additional amount of questions that we thought were appropriate to ask
Yeah.
the
Right.
administration for that. I thought it was very thorough. I was very impressed. I sent on question 2 about the historical context. It's kind of esoteric that some of that stuff, and actually, I was a brand new first year member of the assembly when it was put through in 1997. I was sworn in on January 2nd, 1997. So I was kind of there from the beginning, and I learned a lot. But I would like to have them tell us what they think the history is. But in their own website, that I don't know if one wants me to say, in 1997, members of the Barnstable County Task Force on Children, a collaboration with Cape Cod Healthcare, Department of Children and Families, the Cape and Islands District Attorney's Office, and Barnstable County, identified that there was a need for specialized services for children who are victims of child abuse. Seeing no agencies in the Cape and Islands community that provided the specialized support and services needed, they created the Barnstable County's first child advocacy center and worked in partnership to provide a comprehensive multiple disciplinary response to child abuse cases. So the intent in 1997 was to have a collaboration among all of those things I mentioned, which we have mentioned in part and parcel before. So that I just want to put that onto the record that's in the Children's Cove, their own website about their history. So with that, Delegate Frizel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a couple of things. I like the letter. I think it's comprehensive. I think it should give us almost all, if not all, the information that we've been trying to get at in the last budget cycle, and we will be asking in this budget cycle to help clarify this issue of how much the DA provides in our DA versus other DAs and what it costs to add Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. So I'm in favor of that. I'm in favor of, if you want to add the material you're mentioning of the cases, that's fine too. I would note that towards the end, there's a blank. And I don't know whether we want to fill that blank in today or not, but it is asking for a response in writing by date when we didn't put a date. Yeah. I don't know whether the clerk was thinking of a date there or not.
Well, he presented it to us, so I think we should talk about it too. I mean, if you look at some of these 10 things, there's a lot of work to be done on this.
Yes, there is.
And I know some of them are extremely important. They're all great questions. Some of them may require additional time if we wanted them all, to go through the entire hierarchy of the history of all of the departments of the Cape. I wouldn't be adverse to making sure that they answered the Children's Cove questions more succinctly than the rest of them. That wouldn't bother me in the least, but that's why I'm only one person on this finance committee. I would like those answers in a timely manner so that we can. I think the key to this question is we want to know about Children's Cove going forward. Owen, the way you worded it, how important the agency is to us, is an excellent reminder that we're looking for the sustainability of Barnstable County in toto, not just one of the very important departments. I think every one of the directors of their department would probably come up with exactly how important they were to the residents of Barnstable County should they be asked the same question. So, what does anyone think that we should either amend or emphasize more of the 10 than less of the 10, or should we just add the additional question? Maybe question 11 is how many cases are expected to be in front of the Children's Cove in FY 27 and beyond, and can you do it by county, Nantucket and Dukes? That was the gist of the question. Delegate Preisel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would add that as a paragraph number 11. And I don't think there's any reason I see to emphasize one over the other. We'd like the information on all of them. Is this something that's going to come from the Finance Committee, or do we have to bring this to the Assembly and ask the Assembly to sign on to this? I'd like some clarity about that. Is this simply a Finance Committee request at this point?
I think the Finance Committee is enabled to request this without the General Assembly coming on board. I think that I always welcome our resident parliamentarian to correct me.
Yeah, I mean, in the charter, I think it's 2.7 investigations. Really, any of you could ask this question in writing to the board or to the administrator, and compel them to give you the information. But we have a custom of trying to act collectively so that we can make sure that everybody's questions get answered at the same time and not duplicate work. So I think when this was discussed initially with the chair, this is to make sure that people understand that it's not just the chair's question, but it's in fact the entire Finance Committee's questions that are being asked, and to make sure that it wasn't just his questions that were included, but that the committee as a whole that has the responsibility for making recommendations to the full assembly under the charter on the budget weigh in on this ahead of the board's proposed budget on the Cove for this fiscal year. That was the intent anyway. Did I describe that?
That's what I intended it to be. And of course, we are a collaborative board, and I'm really appreciative of the expertise we have on this board right now, and the diligence of this board. So yes, it's an entire board question, a set of questions. Adding number 11, I think I'll get an agreement formally later on about number 11, and give permission to the clerk to formalize that in writing. I see the presence of Delegate O'Malley, and with his hand raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, for what it's worth, I concur certainly with our clerk. It seems to me that this falls within the sort of investigative role that a committee should be serving. That's the reason for the structure that we have, is to allow the committees to dig at greater depth into subject matter and to pursue lines of inquiry and to solicit information and feedback from departments. So I think that's entirely appropriate that we send out this letter in collecting information. We will incorporate the results into what we present to the full assembly.
Thank you. And I see Delegate King, please.
Yeah, not to be a little picky, but the letter is as written is being sent by the chairman of the Finance Committee.
Well, this is a draft.
I'm just mentioning that.
And I'm sure the clerk is very well aware of that. But I always think that we're a committee of the whole. I'm just the person that has to lead the orchestra. Not necessarily the most important instrument in that organization.
And if I might, it's on letterhead with all of your names on it. That having the chair be the one who signs it at the bottom on your behalf was just to avoid getting 5 or 6 more signatures. So it'll and I can certainly make sure that they understand that this was done by a vote of all of you, but it's on a letterhead with all of your names and his signature at the bottom. That was the intent anyway, but I'm always open to suggestions.
And the question that Delegate Preisel brought up is the date uncertain about this. Now we have to think about exactly what we want to say. It's pretty difficult to demand a date certain, but we would like to I'd like everybody to talk about, anybody to talk about what we should do for a date certain about this. If you go through all, which will become 11, that's a daunting task for anybody. But I think that what it really does is it takes Children's Cove as a focus, but it brings into the fact that the administration has expanded their portfolio of employees dramatically over the last four years, and I would like to know what those are too, because we'd have, as they stated, we're going to be in a very difficult budget season this year with uncertain revenues. So I'd like that, and I would like to know what the committee thinks about a date certain on those now 11 components. Delegate Killian, please.
Well, I had my hand up before that date point was brought up, but just to comment on that, I think we give them 60 days. I think that's probably enough time to get that in place. It'll certainly give them time to gather the information and allow us enough time in the new budget cycle. But my comment that I raised my hand for prior was, I think it's I shouldn't say assume, but I think the concern here is that the county dollars are being used for services outside the county. And obviously we're familiar with that. The question is, going forward, is this something, if it is the case, how would we plan on addressing it? Is it a situation where we think that we're gonna want to collaborate with these other counties and make this Children's Cove more robust? Or are we going to try and split it out? Does anyone have any thoughts on where we might end up after this information is given to us?
Delegate Pryzel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, addressing date. I'm okay with the 60 days proposed by Delegate Killian. I would not go beyond that, at least at this time. While I know this is a lot of questions, but it's not as if none of this information is already compiled somewhere. So I don't think we're asking them to do a lot of original digging. It's a question of going to the files and finding where it is in the files. I understand it's the budget season. It's also the holidays, which is why I think giving 60 days as opposed to 30 or 45 is appropriate. And that if they need more time, or they can only answer some of it in 60 days and then come back to us and say, we need a little more time to answer questions X, Y, and Z. We'll be flexible with that. I don't know whether we need to indicate that in the letter. I think it's probably the custom I've seen, at least through one budget cycle, that when they need more time, they're not shy to tell us they need more time. And then we can entertain that request when it's made, or if it's made. So I'd go with the 60 days. The second thing, and I'd say 60 days from today. And as to the other matter raised by Delegate Killian, good question. I don't know that I'm prepared to really address how we deal with that until we get more facts on the table and we see what these answers are to these questions. But obviously, the reason to ask these questions is to perhaps go in that direction in terms of seeking other participants at a greater level of contribution, not just the DAs, but other parties as well. But I just would prefer the benefit of answers to these questions before providing some kind of policy direction at this point.
Thank you. I see Clerk Fletcher's hand is up. Did you have something to add and guide us along?
I mean, I did only in this sense. So if you were talking about 60 days, say, through ordinance, which is where it's set, the commissioner's proposed budget for FY27 is actually due on February 18th, which is the second meeting, the full assembly meeting of February, and 60 days from today puts you at February 13th. So essentially, like if they can get it together sooner, then fine. But if you're giving them 60 days, it's essentially
How about up to 60 days? We couldn't
up
say
to
that.
60 days sounds fine. I just wanted to chime in because I did some quick math and thinking it through that what you're essentially asking is to get this information by the time you have a proposed Cove budget in front of you from the board, so that you can consider that information wherever the finance committee decides to assign this budget for review, that delegates can consider the Cove budget in light of the information. I mean, that's just where we are timing wise, but I just wanted to throw the logistical time part out there for your consideration.
Thank you. Delegate O'Malley, I saw your hand up. It's no longer up. Are you all right?
I'm all right. Yeah, I think Delegate. I was going to respond to Delegate Killian. I think Delegate Friesel pretty adequately answered that. It's certainly the case that if it turns out that we are really carrying more costs than of the islands operation, my suspicion is both islands having contributed space have maxed out, I would be going after the DA's office, because that's why they're in our catchment area. It's because of the DA's jurisdiction. But I agree, we should get more information first.
Delegate Friesel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm going back to the date question. I'm not troubled by the fact that it substantially overlaps with the presentation of the budget. That's the point. I mean, we're going to be digging into their budget, so I think it corresponds. It's parallel tracks, which is fine. And maybe we should say no later than 60 days. Maybe that might be a way to encourage a submission sooner.
Point taken. I agree. I agree. Up to yeah, no later than 60 days is your thought process. I like that. But as far as the rest of the context of the first 10 things, do you think that they should be? Does anybody find any significant difference of opinion of how those are stated? I did not. So, but I'm only one person. No, I thought it was very well written. I thought it was very comprehensive. And it speaks to the Children's Code, but it also speaks to the general growth of county government, certainly not on the assembly side, and how it will affect our budgets going forward. I mean, it's really a very comprehensive set of questions that focuses on Children's Cove, but does not stop there. So I was very appreciative of the way he worded our thought process. So with that, from what I understand, we're going to ask them to have it in up to 60 days. Oh, I'm sorry. I now see Delegate Friesel.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to move approval of the letter to be sent, so we can move the question. I would prefer the words no later than up to, but whatever. I'm not going to, get too fussy about that. In adding the case, I will give the clerk, I think the clerk knows what we want to say there, and the clerk's done a good job on the rest of this letter. I would just let the clerk add that and
add number 11
signature on it.
Add that number 11 to it as
right.
well.
With
and get it off
date,
to them soon so they can have, I mean, it's a holiday right now, but not for long,
right.
And
I'd get it off to them tomorrow. So that's my motion.
There is a motion on the floor to accept, and with 2 edits that were well spoken of, and have Owen send it back to us for approval, and then send it off. Do we need approval? Are we approving it right now?
Yes.
And we're approving the letter as written and adding 2 addendums to it, and number 11 and the date certain. Okay. There's a motion on the floor.
I haven't heard a second yet.
I know. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, I'll second. Sure, of course.
Vice Chair Killian seconded. Is there further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, I'll call for a roll call.
Can I just clarify for a second?
Who's voting?
Yeah, the way that I had it, because I knew that Delegate O'Malley might join us, is because Delegate Fuller is here and he's the more senior member in service, that he was filling in, I guess, for the I don't know. I'd assume that Delegate Fuller would be voting for Delegate Gallagher, but you were chair, so I want to know who to call the roll for.
That would be my opinion as well. Just we'll go by deference of time served, time in service.
All right. So we have Delegate Frizel,
Yes.
Delegate Fuller for Delegate Gallagher,
Yes.
Vice Chair Killian,
Yes.
Chair Omen,
Yes.
and Delegate O'Malley.
Yes.
That's 5, and I will get that letter out. Please, I'm going to try my best to get it out tomorrow, but we do have a meeting Wednesday at the latest. I will get that out first thing Thursday morning, but kind of like we said for the staff, I'll intend to get that out tomorrow and no later than Thursday morning. So.
Well, with that, I thank you all for your participation. And as our newest delegate member is Mr. King. Can see you essentially are a full-time member of the committee, and welcome for that. And whoever gets to raise their hand is, for final votes is a small matter to me, as long as we get to where we want to go. I mean, that to me is the function of this, and I really appreciate your time. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Delegate Killian, so moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a second, and roll call, please.
Yes, that's Delegate Frizel,
Yes.
Delegate Fuller for Delegate Gallagher,
Yes.
Vice Chair Killian,
Yes.
Chair Omen,
Yes.
Delegate O'Malley.
Yes.
That's all, Mr. Chair.
27 minutes, and we got everything done that we needed to get done. Thank you so much for your time. We'll see
Take
everybody
care.
Wednesday, one way or the other.